A good day to Madam Hamida binti Halim and all my fellow friends. My name is Anjani and my metric number is 288958. So today I would like to explain about my persuasive speech, and my topic is importance of art. And the specific purpose is to persuade the audience to reflect more on the important role of contemporary art in society. So this is the topic of outline, which is introduction, and moving on will be body, and lastly will be conclusions.
So now, before we start, I just have to ask, do you know art? Do you know why art is important? There are so many different ways to define art, and art is something that affects feeling, emotions, and intellect created by humans. According to Aristotle, art accomplishes what nature cannot. The artist gives us insight into the unfulfilled purpose of nature, and we come into contact with art at every stage of our life. Graffiti on the wall is an art form, as is the intricate carving of a beautiful building around the corner, or an exhibit purchased while traveling abroad. And each of these things affect us on an unconscious level, but their presence and appreciation shape our life. And often the concept of art conjures up images of grand, illegible painting hanging in tall galleries, admired by an elegant elite in high heels and pince nez, or unkempt writers scribbling beautifully at wooden desks in remote beach houses. Whatever image come to mind when you think of art, one thing remains common: we don't associate it with the grind of everyday life, and it is far from the daily chore and toil, something to be enjoyed only at leisure and perhaps never fully understand. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you think about it, art is actually an integral part of our life and affects us more than we realize. So what I want to talk about today is the role of contemporary art in society, and why is art important. And moving on to the body parts. So firstly, art is an unnecessary necessity. I really hope to inspire you to think more about the important role that art must play in society. So based on Oscar Wilde, he wrote in his preface to the portrait of Dorian Gray, stated that all art is quite useless. And I want to draw attention to the word quite in this statement. So how better to explain that art is an unnecessary necessity? So can you try to imagine what it would be like if we live a life without any arts and culture? So in my opinions, without music, movies, without dance, opera, literature, and poetry, the world would be very dark place and a very boring life, I think. And there is no imagination, and this is what separates us humans from the rest of species. Without art, the banality of reality would be intolerable, or to paraphrase Nietzsche's what he said, we have art in order not to be destroyed by truth. So what I want to talk about today is the role of a contemporary art in society. And so why is art important? I'm not referring to the top 1% of the art world here. So the small minority that makes up the art world are those few artists who sell works for millions to billions of dollars. Those oligarchs pay fortunes in the billions. But since it is important art, which is important in how that affects us all. So today, reality is inspiring more and more artists, rather the former aspect of reality as we know it. As we know it, color, shape, and beauty. And I don't believe that art for the sake of art is enough in today's complex world. So let's moving on to the next point is art is political in a sense because it is about one freedom of opinion and movement, the freedom to express oneself. So the artists working in this social political art field by express themselves by using the use of different media. For example, by using traditional medium to films, performance, and installations. These works address important issues, and they strive to contrast with the popular image of powers and the stereotypes that the media have instilled in us. And there is a long history of encounter between art and politics since the age of enlightenment. Therefore, art has always had to take a stand. In history, politics and society has been assisted by the use of art, and in this project, the gap between the two in temporary bridges. One might easily consider the recent avant-garde as an example. However, it has been difficult to define and quantities in this influence and change over time. So what does art do and what can it do and what is its importance? However, the truth is it is very difficult that the art of categorizations and classification is exactly what it is and how it works. That is what makes it beautiful and elusive value. This is because art functions in mysterious, hidden, and extremely subtle ways, and it is impossible to quantify and classify how it affects those who see it. It is always so difficult to convince politicians to accept funding for the arts. So by convincing them of the value of art, its importance and value, you can't just judge by popular consensus and numbers. This is because art allows for something that cannot be defined. As a result, one can never predict in what way it will affect people, change their mind, or influence their subsequent behaviors. That is why it is a subtle force that can change the world over and over again. And that is why art is often seen as a threat by those in power. The British artist Anthony Gormley begins with the following definition of art. Art is about one's expectation and the use of one's freedom of actions. Art is optimistic because it can shape a person, and it shows us that a world can change by a person. Even though the power is just a small piece of paper, art as an act of communicating together is a small way of saying I create the world, not simply inherited it. So next, how does art functions? I think the way we think can be changed by art. First, it can break down rigid views and challenge established perspectives. And next, it has a critical outlook of the world, and it can expand our perspective while going above and beyond what we are used to. It also questions established or destructive worldview, and it exposes what is usually hidden under the carpet. Also, it goes beyond what is accepted and known beyond what we are told in inevitable. And art functions as a social conscience. So the best art should let you know what you think while also inspiring inquiry and a sense of curiosity. Human has a unique ability to predict, dream, and also way to reflect, not only as they are now, but they could or should be. So next, the art are the vital part of today's education system. Art is everywhere, wherever, in every TV show, every commercial, and also every book. Because of this, it plays an important role in today's education, in today's educational system. However, in the rush to increase test score, the art curriculum has been drastically cut and completely forgotten, with the new focus being on common core state standards, which does not include art as a core. And schools are having to take away art budget. to focus on core that being tested on. I strongly agree that public school need the art perhaps more than ever, and the arts are just as important as maths, English, science and social study in today's public school curriculums. And how has the art has suffered in recent years? According to pertinent statistics would help to buttress my claim that teaching of the arts is slowly disappearing in our public schools. And let's have a look into the advantages of having strong art program in today's public schools. Perhaps after-school activities involving the arts would be a way of killing two birds with one stone by opening student mind to let them know what constitutes art and the theories, and also involving them in personal expression of creativity via music, painting, sculpting, dance, videography, and so on. And kids today desperately need some great alternative to the street scenes and all its associated problems such as involvement in gangs, drugs, vandalism, and in electronic entertainment which feature murder and mayhem and so on. So instead of becoming consumer of video games, students today need to learn how to invent their own video games. And also, instead of being only consumer of the latest trends in music, they also need to learn how to make their own music rather than thinking that reading, writing, and numeracy like an artistic elements. They need to understand how non-art courses affect art courses. So, for example, where would music be without maths? Let's say music theory is filled with maths. What with time signature 4/4, 3/4, and also 6/8, quarter notes, 8 notes, and 16 notes. That what I said just now. And the 4 movement of the classical symphonies. The same goes for the hard science and also the soft science, each of which contributed to the art both directly and indirectly. Where would social study be without social movements down through history and the role that art, for example, for political cartoons, sculptures, and also school of designs and music play. So for music too would be nowhere without the science of sound recording, and sound reproduction, all of which are make that much more meaningful once they are understood and mastered. So technology today makes a formally advanced and complicated activity such as the composing of music well within the reach of even the youngest students. So the same goes for fine art too. With any one of the number of computer software programs, students can manipulate color, shape, and also design in ways which are unheard of to previous generation of students. So for the last point is, art can be used to raise score in every subject, such as like students who took 4 years of art classes score 91 points higher on their SAT exam than those who just took half a year or less. So multiple studies also confirm that there is a correlation between art engagement and also student other achievement. Despite the fact that there is evidence relating the art to higher grades, some educators are of the view that it is more beneficial to concentrate primarily on the core curriculum because funding what is being evaluated is more important than fostering children's creativity. So not only can art help improve a child's overall education, and teaching it as a regular part of a curriculum can help children learn to express themselves in a safe way and also facilitate problem solving. So there is no right answer to art because it allows students to explore all options before finding ones. And also, schools which are in low-income areas tends to have a higher dropout rate and lower grades when the art budget are cut the only classes. That may be keeping some of the kids engaged in school may also be cut, although it takes the budget away from the core subject. Supporting the art in a high-risk school will eventually help the school in the long run and also help the student there to learn the life skills that are needed to get through school and succeed in life. So art is a great way to get and keep the attention of students who are not interested on it. Let us move on to the conclusions. In short, it is not the macro but the micro that makes art change the world. In this sense, its importance is immeasurable because art changes things in a very subtle way. The artist himself is a free-floating intellect, an independently functioning, unconstrained individual, and also uninfluenced by normative thinking about the environment. It is able to act independently to social or class reality. So let us move on to the dialogue, reconciliation, participation, solidarity, but the connection and also understanding of different perspectives. I believe that the world would be a better place if more people were involved because art changes things the art in a very subtle way. More important, the artist himself is a free-floating intellect, education, independently functioning, creativity and constrained individual in the art also uninfluenced by normal. But thinking about the integral part of the human spirit is able to act independently to social relation. It is an essential part of what make conclusions. In short, it contemplates the world but the micro that and it makes art imagine what the world should be like. In this sense, it's more important art is the last immeasurable because art changes things in a very subtle way. The artist himself is a free-floating intellect, an independently functioning and constrained individual, and also uninfluenced by normative thinking about the environment. Potential it is able to act independently to social class to go beyond the possible and into the imaginary should serve in short example and this inspiration macro but the micro. No great artist can see things as they really are. If he could, you wouldn't be an artist anymore. So just open your eyes and allow yourself to be amazed by art. That's all from me. Thank you.